expressing grave concern about the situation in Ukraine, including Crimea, emphasizing the role of the OSCE and so on.
So now we are voting on the oral amendment proposed by our rapporteur. So will all those in favor of this oral amendment please vote? Please raise your voting cards. Thank you. Will all those against this oral amendment please raise your voting cards? Thank you very much. Any abstentions? No abstentions? One abstention. The oral amendment is adopted. Thank you. So, dear friends, after having a short consultation, we came into conclusion that the oral amendment proposed by Madam Kauma is defeated because we need the consensus on adoption of that oral amendment. This is why this is defeated. So we have to come to the original one that was proposed by Ms. Glanzman. So she has already made her proposal. Maybe I ask now for objection. Is there anybody against this amendment, please? Anyone wishes to speak against this amendment? No. So may I put to the vote? Will all those in favor of amendment number 7, please raise your voting cards. Thank you very much. Will those who are against this amendment number 7? No objection. Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Amendment number 7 is adopted. Amendment number 8. I now call Mr. Slutsky of Russia to propose amendment 8. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. L'atmosphère de solidarité à notre Assemblée, je veux annuler cet amendement parce que l'amendement numéro 7 était adopté. Merci.
Thank you very much. So we now move to the...
Somebody against, if somebody wants to speak against.
Anybody wishes to speak against this?
It's been withdrawn.
It has been withdrawn, yeah.
Oh, it's been...
Yeah, it has been withdrawn. So now we are move on amendment number 9. I call Mr. Holm of Sweden to propose amendment number 9. Okay. Also, Lindestam, Madam Lindestam, please propose this amendment.
Thank you. And after paragraph 6, we would like to put in expressed and concerned about the defeat of democratic political institutions and lack of democratic progress in the Republic of Belarus. Thank you.
Thank you, Osa. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment, number 9? Please, Belarus.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги, я считаю, что данная поправка абсолютно не соответствует действительности. Это мягко говоря. Ну, кто был на чемпионате мира у нас по хоккею, в том числе и шведские коллеги, мы не видели претензий, каких-то претензий, отсутствие какого-то у нас прогресса и так далее. Все были очень удовлетворены состоянием, положением дел в стране. Ну и в-третьих, я хочу сказать, что эта поправка относится к третьей корзине. Почему мы должны кушать хлеб наших коллег из третьего комитета? Благодарю вас. Мы против этой поправки. Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Gumnitsky. Now I'd like to ask of opinion of our rapporteur, Madam Kauma. Please, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, I do accept it.
Thank you. Now I want to put this amendment on vote. Please, will all those in favor of amendment number 9, please raise your voting cards, please. Thank you very much. Will all those against this amendment please raise your voting cards? The amendment number 9 is adopted. Sorry, amendment number 10. I call Mr. Maltaz of Canada to propose amendment number 10. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je remplace ce matin notre collègue, Mme Edith Fry, qui s'est occupée du dossier, étant retenue au pays pour cause de maladie. Je me ferai donc son porte-parole. Rappelant que l'acte final d'Helsinki de 1975 visait des questions telles que le règlement pacifique des différends, l'abstention du recours à la menace ou à l'emploi de la force, le respect des droits de l'homme et des libertés fondamentales, notamment la liberté de pensée, de conscience, de religion ou de conviction pour tous, sans distinction de race, de sexe, de langue ou de religion, ainsi que d'autres engagements clés en matière de sécurité humaine. En 2014, l'OSCE célèbre son 10e anniversaire de son plan d'action pour la promotion de l'égalité entre les sexes. Pour ce faire, elle organisera une conférence d'examen d'égalité entre les sexes à la mi-juillet, en vue d'examiner les lacunes liées à la mise en œuvre du plan d'action au cours des 10 dernières années et de proposer des solutions pour l'avenir. Grâce aux résolutions que nous adopterons ici à Bakou,
Please, your time is over. Please, just try to complete within 5 seconds.
j'ai terminé, Monsieur le Président. Voilà.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation. Now I'd like to ask, is there anybody to speak against this amendment, please? No one wishes to speak against? So, Madam Kama, what's your opinion?
Mr. Chair, I accept this amendment.
Thank you very much. Now I shall put this amendment to the vote. Will all those in favor of the amendment number 10 please raise your voting cards? Thank you very much. Will those against this amendment please raise your voting cards? Against? Okay.
Okay.
Any abstentions? No abstentions. One abstention? 1 or 2 abstentions. So the amendment is adopted. Now we move on the amendment number 11. I call Mr. Tursunbekov of Kyrgyzstan to propose his amendment. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Спасибо, уважаемый председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, уважаемые участники сегодняшнего заседания, я рад приветствовать вас и в первую очередь хочу благодарить организаторов, азербайджанских друзей за очень хорошую организацию данного мероприятия. А также благодарю госпожу Пия Каума за хороший доклад, так как он охватил основные вопросы, которые входят в компетенцию данного комитета. Современное реагирование на конфликт, а также разрешение конфликта является важным вопросом в рамках ОБСЕ. Для этого существуют различные инструменты, куда также выходят и переговоры. Двухсторонние и многосторонние переговоры на сегодняшний день являются условием политического развития, движением вперед, способом разных народов, государств и организаций строить совместные отношения на принципах согласия, взаимного уважения и терпимости.
Mr. Tursunbekov, your time is over. Please just try to complete within 5 or 10 seconds, please.
Okay. Учитывая происходящий и происходящий конфликт в регионе ОБСЕ, я приветствую усилия парламентариев конфликтующих сторон, а также секретариата Ассамблеи использовать площадку ОБСЕ для проведения двусторонних и многосторонних переговоров для урегулирования вопросов, касающихся первого измерения ОБСЕ. Прошу поддержать.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tursunbekov. Now I want to ask either anyone wishes to speak against this amendment, please. No one wishes to speak against. Now I ask Madam Pia's opinion, please. Madam Kauma, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you very much. With all those in favor of Amendment 11, please raise your voting cards. Thank you very much. With all those against this amendment, please raise your voting cards. No. Thank you very much. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Amendment number 11 is adopted. Now I would like to go on Amendment 12. I call Mr. Guminsky of Belarus to propose Amendment 12. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Спасибо. Уважаемые коллеги, мы хотим добавить в эту поправку, в этот пункт единственные слова «и мерах укрепления доверия и безопасности». Необходимо отметить, что меры укрепления доверия и безопасности являются неотъемлемой частью военно-политического инструментария ОБСЕ и дополняют, собственно, договоренности над обычными вооружениями. Поэтому мы предлагаем поддержать нашу поправку. Благодарю.
Thank you. Does anyone wishes to speak against this amendment? Please. No one. Now I shall put this amendment 12 to the vote. With all those, Madam Pia, Madam Kaumas, your opinion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you for your cooperation. Now I shall put this amendment number 12 to the vote. With all those in favor of that amendment, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. With those against this amendment, please raise your voting cards. No against. No one is against. Are there any abstentions? No abstentions. Thank you. Amendment 12 is adopted. Now I move on Amendment 13. I call Mr. Harsted of Sweden to propose Amendment 13. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. With the opening of two major shipping routes, the North Sea route and the Northwest Passage, the potential for economic competition is very fierce, especially among the 8 members of the Arctic Council: Canada, Denmark, Norway, Finland, Iceland, Sweden, the United States and the Russian Federation. This is a region of the world that previously provided international cooperation and stability. It is now turning into a race for sovereign and resources claims. That's why we need this new paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to ask anyone wish to speak against Amendment 13? No one. So, Kauma, please, your opinion.
Mr. Chair, I accept it.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Now I shall put Amendment 13 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 13 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this Amendment 13 please raise your voting cards? 1, 2, 3, 2. Thank you. Are there any abstentions? One abstention. So thank you very much. Amendment 13 is adopted. Now we have again the oral amendment proposed by Madam Pia Kauma, the rapporteur of our committee. I'd like to repeat that in order to put in our agenda, firstly we have to unanimously support this consideration. After that, we need consensus on adoption of this amendment. So please, Madam Kauma, excuse me, point of order? Yes, please.
Forgive me, Mr. President, but I should be grateful if we could have a ruling from the table as to why you say that the manuscript amendment can only be adopted if there is nobody against. The rule makes it quite clear in my submission that the manuscript amendment can only be considered so long as there are no objections. I failed to take that point on your previous ruling, but since it's arisen again, I make it on this occasion. In my opinion, to summarise, we need consensus to consider it. We do not need consensus to adopt it. We would vote on it in the ordinary way.
Thank you very much, but I'd like to read the rule number 22, paragraph 10. Maybe it would be better to make some clarification on that. The practice of the first committee is to accept oral amendments only if there is unanimity in the committee. The amendment can only be considered if there is no objection. The amendment will only be carried if there is no objection. If any objections are taken, the oral amendment will fall. Is that clear?
Well, it's not clear because, with great respect, Mr. President, I don't want to delay matters because it may not be sufficiently important. But I am reading the circulated rules of procedure, Rule 22, paragraph 10, and it has none of the words that you referred to. It reads quite simply, manuscript or oral amendments may only be considered if there is unanimous agreement by the members of the committee or plenary present. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing about established practice or anything else.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Really, it is a little bit unclear. Maybe you are right. But, you know, in practice, we just exercise this role. So maybe we shall just follow this procedure as it is. Is it clear?
Mr. President, Roger Wicker of the United States.
Yes, please.
It seems to me we have a very simple question. Is the language as read by the delegate from the United Kingdom, the controlling rule, or is the different language read by the chair the controlling rule? Obviously, they conflict with each other, and it ought to be a simple matter as to what exactly the rules are for our procedures.
Okay, so we understood that the rule is not so quite clear, so we will put to the vote and the consideration of the committee. The committee will decide. Okay.
Well, Mr. President, forgive me. I will come back to this. We all know that there are practices followed which ease matters along, but when it comes to making a decision as to what you will do, there can only be one thing that can guide you, and that is the published rules. If the rules of debate are going to be altered, then we need to alter the rules of this organisation. In my judgment, our colleague from the United States is correct. The rules state what I read out, paragraph 10 of Rule 22. Nothing more, nothing less. I won't pursue this further, Mr. President, because I'm conscious that we are delaying the proceedings over something which may not be of huge importance. But in the future, it may be, and I do suggest that this matter ought to be clarified. And in saying that, I in no way resile from my submission that the original ruling, with the greatest respect, was incorrect, and the suggested ruling on this occasion will be equally incorrect.
Thank you very much. I fully agree. We will definitely follow your advice to make really clear this role. And by the time being, I think it is a time to ask, is there any objection to put this oral amendment to the consideration? No objection? Okay, thank you very much. Now I ask Madam Pia to propose her oral amendment.
All right, thank you, Chair. Amendment 14. First, I would like to say that I fully sympathize and understand this amendment, but there is a quite strong wording when it comes to the word deplore, the constant refusal of the Russian Federation, etc. And I would like to propose another wording for that. Instead of deplore, I would like to use and strongly encourages the Russian Federation to engage in a dialogue within the framework of the joint FSC PC meetings and to cooperate in a responsible manner, etc. So strongly encourages and to cooperate. That is my suggestion.
Thank you, Madam Pia. Kauma, anyone wishes to speak against this oral amendment? Please, Russian Federation.
Благодарю вас, господин председатель. Я с глубоким уважением отношусь к господину Зарубинскому и к членам украинской делегации в нашей ассамблее. Однако данная поправка на 180 градусов искажает реалии сегодняшнего дня. Сегодня боевые действия вдоль государственной границы...
Excuse me, sir. We are not talking about the amendment of Mr. Zarubinsky. We are just talking about the oral amendment proposed by our rapporteur, Madam Pia Kauma. Do you have any objection?
Она смещает, но мы против все равно. Она смещает, но мы против.
Okay.
Is it okay? Anyone wishes to speak against this oral amendment? No one. So, shall I put now this oral amendment to the vote? Will all those in favor of this oral amendment, please raise your voting cards?
Не голосуем. Не голосуем.
In favor. Thank you very much. Will all those against this oral amendment, please raise your voting cards? No one. Thank you very much. This is a real consensus. I congratulate our colleagues, and the oral amendment is adopted. Thank you very much. Now we go on Amendment 14. I call Mr. Zarubinsky of Ukraine to propose Amendment number 14. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. dear colleagues, after paragraph 8, it is proposed to add a separate paragraph, really separate paragraph in our version. At the same time, we agree with the new version of the report, probably as a compromise. In our opinion, such paragraph intensifies the discussed question and reveals its real essence. Thank you, reporter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 14? Please, Russian Federation.
Вот теперь я хочу повторить свою аргументацию. Я понимаю смягчающую аргументацию госпожи Каума, поэтому мы не были против. А вот против поправки в целом мы выступаем категорически. Дело в том, что данная поправка на 180 градусов искажает суть сегодняшних реалий, происходящих на государственной границе, разделяющей Россию и Украину. Военные действия ведутся не Россией, а ведутся Украиной. Активно ведутся Украиной, вопреки объявленному президентом Порошенко перемирию. Только вчера 3 снаряда прилетели на территорию Российской Федерации, Ростовской области. Тяжело ранен сотрудник Федеральной таможенной службы. Таким образом, в данной ситуации суть совершенно искажается полярным образом. Это абсолютная ложь. Наша ассамблея не может в данном случае повторять ситуацию, повторять оценку, которая качественным образом на 180 градусов расходится с реалиями. Поэтому я предлагаю господину Зарубинскому снять эту поправку, и в данном случае мы будем выступать категорически против. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. What is Mr. Kauma's opinion of that amendment? Please, Mr. Kauma.
Mr. Chair, like I said earlier, I truly sympathize with this Ukrainian amendment number 14, but like I said, I wanted to make an other oral amendment, and I prefer that one.
Yes, this amendment already has been amended, and I think we have already made vote on that, so it is very clear. Now, I shall put this amendment 14 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 14 please raise your voting cards? We count it? Yeah. Will all those, thank you very much, will all those against this amendment number 14? The amendment number 14 is adopted. Amendment number 15. I call Mr. Kafkalias of Cyprus to propose amendment number 15. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Code of Conduct on Political-Military Aspects of Security remains a key point of reference in terms of both interstate and internal political-military conduct norms. These make it a significant confidence-building tool with a viable contribution to efforts in the field of arms control and towards fostering greater trust and transparency within and beyond the OSCE area. It is therefore necessary that the Code's implementation mechanisms be enhanced through better assessment and analysis of the yearly information exchanges. It is also significant to see the Code's increased outreach also by discussing how certain provisions of the Code can reinforce the verification regime of the Vienna document. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? No one? So, Madam Pierre Kaumas, your opinion, please.
Mr. Chair, I do accept it.
Thank you very much. I shall now put Amendment 15 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 15 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment number 15 please raise your voting cards? No one. Amendment is adopted. Now I call Mr. Guminyska of Belarus to propose amendment 16. Yeah, please.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Я хотел обратить внимание, что отдельных дискуссий в июле 2014 года об осуществлении Венского документа не планируется. Не планируется, как это вот указано, вопреки тому, как это указано в пункте 9. Мы предлагаем скорректировать этот пункт и усилить его формулировкой с целью повышения стабильности, предсказуемости, открытости и транспарентности в военной области для всех государств-участников. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 16? No one? Madam Kauma, your opinion, please.
Mr. Chair, I have really nothing against this amendment, but I still do prefer the original one because I think it's more accurate.
Now I shall put amendment 16 to the vote. Will all those in favor amendment 16 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against amendment 16 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Are there any abstentions? One abstention. The amendment is defeated. Amendment 17. I call Mr. Slutsky of Russia to propose amendment 17. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель. В данном случае мы предлагаем исключить параграф 10 резолюций. Мотивация здесь совершенным образом очевидна. Данный пункт, на мой взгляд, просто несколько искажает конструктивный дух нашей ассамблеи. Я не хотел бы в данном случае вступать в конфронтацию с госпожой Каума. Я хотел бы получить ее позицию. Мне кажется, что в данном случае мы хотели бы ради конструктива, который несет с собой резолюция в целом, снять этот пункт, поскольку его содержание входит в конфронтацию с резолюцией в целом. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment 17? No one. Excuse, yes, please, Vilja. Lithuania, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that our colleague Pia Kauma prepared a very good document. And this 10th paragraph is answers to the reality. This is a very, very good assumption of reality we live in. So I think it should be kept in the text.
Thank you, Vilja. Now I ask opinions of Madam Kauma. Please, Pia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to keep the paragraph number 10 because it includes a lot of good information and also examples of the Vienna document proposals in order to show what kind of things should be modified.
Thank you, Pia. Now I shall put amendment 17 to the vote. Will all those in favor of amendment 17 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment number 17 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Any abstentions? One abstention. The amendment 17 is defeated. Amendment 18. I call Mr. Guminyska of Belarus to propose amendment 18. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Спасибо. Заключение новых и укрепление существующих двусторонних соглашений о дополнительных мерах укрепления доверия и безопасности в духе главы 10 Венского документа вносит вклад в повышение предсказуемости, транспарентности и стабильности как на региональном, так и субрегиональном уровнях. В условиях отсутствия на современном этапе перспектив выработки нового договора об обычных вооруженных силах в Европе, общеевропейского режима контроля над обычными вооружениями а также содержательного обновления Венского документа, особую актуальность приобретает дальнейшее развитие региональных и субрегиональных договоренностей, заключенных на основе главы 10 Венского документа. Предлагаем.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment number 18? No one? Madam Kauma, what's your opinion about that?
Mr. Chair, I accept this amendment.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Now I shall put Amendment 18 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment number 18 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against? Thank you. Any abstentions? 1, 2. 1, 2 abstentions. The amendment number 18 is adopted. Amendment 19. I call Mr. Vicker of USA to propose Amendment 19. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer this amendment to recognize the ongoing need for arms verification and inspection regimes in the OSCE region. Earlier this year in Ukraine, inspectors under the auspices of the Vienna document were among the first to gain access to observe the security circumstances in Crimea. This led to important awareness on the part of OSCE members. I would point out that multinational delegations of experienced military advisors give such Vienna document inspections enduring value as highly visible confidence building measures and security building measures. So I ask my colleagues to support this amendment as a recognition of the Vienna document inspections. We must recognize their value as being among the most tangible tools to support transparency and common security in our region. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vicker. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment number 19? No one. Madam Kauma, your opinion about that?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I do accept it.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Now I shall put Amendment 19 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 19 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against this amendment? No one. No one is against? One against. Okay, are there any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you very much. Amendment number 19 is adopted. Now we go on Amendment 20. I call Mr. Doris of Georgia to propose Amendment 20. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. We think that parliamentary oversight of defense and security issues are one of the most important tools of democracy and OSCE principles from our point of view, and any other countries' achievement in this regard and preparing of such a legislative basis and political willingness, I mean, to show that should be welcomed by Parliamentary Assembly from our point of view. So I'll highly appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment number 20? No one? Now I ask of opinion Madam Kaumas of that amendment. Please, Madam Kaum, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it is very good that we also show some good examples in this report, and this is why I accept it.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Now I shall put Amendment 20 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 20 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment, number 20, please raise your voting cards. 1. Thank you. Any abstentions? Six abstentions. The amendment number 20 is adopted. Amendment 21. I call Mr. Kostunov of Russia to propose Amendment 21. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы предлагаем в пункте 13 после слова «подотчетности» добавить слова «в том числе в интересах недопущения применения вооруженных сил против гражданского населения». Считаем очень важно обратить на это внимание. И добавлю то, что в соответствии с действующими международными нормами в состав вооруженных сил, регулярных и нерегулярных, входят части и соединения сухопутных, морских, воздушных сил, а также войска милиции, полиции, безопасности, добровольческие отряды, отряды ополчения и личный состав организованного движения. Очень важно напомнить о защите гражданских лиц в ходе конфликтов. Спасибо. Прошу поддержать.
Thank you. Now I ask anyone wishes speaking against this amendment number 21. No one? Madam Kauma, you have the floor. What's your opinion of that?
Mr. Chair, I accept it.
Thank you very much. Now I shall put amendment 21 to the vote. Will all those in favor of amendment number 21 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against this amendment? 1, 2, 1 against. Any abstentions? 5 abstentions. The amendment number 21 is adopted. So we have another oral amendment of Madam Pierre Kauma. She wants to do it now. Please, Madam Kauma, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are talking about amendment number 22 made by Russia. And I would like to have two corrections or oral amendments. I would like to change the word coordination to cooperation. And also I would like to add other international organizations, not just cooperation with the European Union, but also other international organizations when it comes to cybersecurity strategy. Thank you.
Are there any objections to considering this oral amendment? No objection. Shall I put this oral amendment to the vote? Are there any? Will all those in favor of that oral amendment please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Are there anyone against this oral amendment? Against? So two are against. According to the rule of our committee, this oral amendment is defeated. Now, Amendment 22. I call Mr. Slutsky of Russia to propose Amendment 22. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Большое спасибо, господин председатель. Я поддерживал подпоправки госпожи Каума и считал, что, может быть, они действительно дадут лучшую формулировку, но в любом случае эти формулировки близкие друг к другу. Речь идет о том, что в нашей резолюции обязательно должна быть оценка угроз в киберпространстве и возможности их предотвратить, создать эффективную систему уведомления и классификации для противодействия не в электронном пространстве. С этой точки зрения мы считаем это важнейшей темой и предлагаем коллегам поддержать данную поправку. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment 22? No one. Please, our rapporteur, Madam Kauma, you have the floor of that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to keep the paragraph number 15 in my report, and therefore I'm against this amendment.
So I shall now put Amendment 22 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 22 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment number 22 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you very much. The amendment number 22 is defeated. Amendment 23, I call Mr. Glanzmann of Switzerland to propose her, I'm very sorry, I call Ms. Glanzmann of Switzerland to propose her amendment. Please, Madam, you have the floor.
Ja, Herr Vorsitzender. Viele Mitgliedstaaten sind nicht EU-Mitglieder und es ist daher unverständlich, dass ausgerechnet die Strategie der EU bei der Cybersicherheit hervorgehoben wird. Stattdessen könnte man hinsichtlich der Cybersicherheit auf die Entscheidung 1106 des Ständigen Rats mit dem Titel Initial Set of OSCE Confidence Building Measures to Reduce the Risk of Conflict Stemming from the use of information and communication technologies verwiesen werden. Diese Entscheidung war tatsächlich ein Durchbruch für die OSZE, weil sie die erste Zusammenstellung von vertrauensbildenden Maßnahmen der OSZE im Cyberbereich darstellt. Die cybervertrauensbildenden Maßnahmen werden in der informellen Arbeitsgruppe diskutiert. Es ist wichtig, diese Arbeit zu unterstützen. Deshalb sollte sie in Paragraph 15 integriert werden. Danke.
Thank you very much. Now, I want to ask anyone wishing to speak against Amendment 23. No one. So, what's about your opinion, Madam Kauma?
Mr. Chair, I do understand fully the point of view that Mrs. Glanzmann from Switzerland has pointed out, and therefore I think it's better wording than my original one, so I will accept it.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Now I shall put Amendment 23 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 23 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against? Please raise your voting cards. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Any abstentions? No abstention. Amendment 23 is adopted. Amendment 24. I call Mr. Kafkalias of Cyprus to propose Amendment 24. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. We deem important to stress the high significance of the arms trading global efforts to regulate international trade in conventional arms. Preventing the illicit trading and uncontrolled use of these arms, particularly in conflict situations, proves even more urgent in light of multiplying internal, interstate and transnational security threats. In the context of Helsinki Plus 40 and the OSCE's overall efforts relating to arms control, participating states must see to the arms trade treaties speeding entry into force. This can also be a catalyst for progress in many other areas in urgent need for global action in our efforts towards a safer world.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment, number 24? No one. I'd like to ask of opinion of Madam Kauma of that, please. Madam Kauma, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you very much. Now I shall put Amendment 24 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 24 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against? Please raise your voting cards. No one is against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Amendment 24 is adopted. Amendment 25. I call Mr. Gumniski of Belarus to propose his Amendment 25. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, деятельность нашей организации в области легкого и стрелкового оружия и обычных боеприпасов, в частности, проекты по оказанию государствам-участникам содействия в данной сфере, имеют воистину огромное значение. Они визитная карточка ОБСЕ и представляются актуальны для многих стран. Просим поддержать данную поправку. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? No one. Madam Kauma, how do you think about this amendment? Amendment number 25.
Dear Mr. Chair, I accept it.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. So I shall put Amendment 25 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 25 please raise their voting cards? Thank you. Will all those who are against this Amendment 25 please raise their voting cards? No one. Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you very much. Amendment 25 now is adopted. Amendment 26. I call Mr. Gumniski of Belarus to propose Amendment 26. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Вот это, да? Деятельность ОБСЕ в области легкого и стрелкового оружия и обычных вооружений, боеприпасов, в частности, проекты по оказанию государствам участникам содействия в данной сфере является визитной карточкой ОБСЕ и представляется актуальной для многих стран. Значимость этой сферы также возрастает с учетом необходимости реализации программ сбора и уничтожения легкого стрелкового оружия и боеприпасов на территории Украины в целях предотвращения их неконтролируемого распространения. Поэтому мы предлагаем такое дополнение в нашу поправку.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment, number 26? No one. Madam Kauma, what's your opinion of that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you. Now I shall put Amendment 26 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 26 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against this Amendment 26? Any abstentions? Thank you. Amendment 26 is adopted. Now Amendment 27. I call Mr. Kafkalias of Cyprus to propose his Amendment 27. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Yes. Actually, we agree with the rapporteur proposal with a single new paragraph. We thought important and to place emphasis on the serious threats that SOL pose to societies due to the cause and effect relation between their proliferation and conflict situations, but also due to the uncontrolled circulation and misuse of these arms in non-conflict situations. So we accept the compromise rapporteur's proposal.
Thank you. So, do you have an oral amendment? So we are coming back to the oral amendment once again. So I'd like to give the floor to Madam Kauma to propose her oral amendment. Please, Madam Kauma, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you look at the amendments 27, 28 and 29, you will realize that there are lots of things that are in common between these three. And therefore, I made a compromise proposal for the amendment makers in order to make just one amendment instead of three. And it reads as follows. calls for measures limiting, prohibiting and controlling the illegal trade of small arms and light weapons, including their diversion to non-state actors in conflict areas, as well as the uncontrolled circulation and misuse of these arms in non-conflict situations, which pose multiple threats to societies and contribute to numerous casualties every year, including among civilians. This is my proposal, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Are there any objections to considering this oral amendment? Any objections? No objection. Now I shall put to the vote of the oral amendment proposed by Madam Pierre Kauma. Are there, with all those in favor of the oral amendment proposed by Madam Kauma, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. Who are against this oral amendment, please raise your voting cards. No one is against. Any abstentions? No. The oral amendment is adopted. Now we come back to the amendment of Mr. Kafkalias. He has already proposed his amendment. Now I'd like to ask anyone wishing to speak against this amendment. No one is. What is the opinion of Madam Pierre Kauma of that amendment? Please, Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept this amendment.
Thank you very much. I now shall put Amendment 27 to the vote. Will all those in favor of that amendment please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against this amendment, number 27?
Could I have point of order? Finland.
Please you have the floor.
Johannes Kosken from Finland. This is not very logical. After we have made a compromise of 3 amendments, then these 3 should be withdrawn. So to be a reasonable resolution altogether.
Thank you very much for reminding it. It is really true that after adopting the oral amendment, the amendment 27 falls. Thank you for cooperation. Now I go on. So 28 and 29 are already amended.
Yes. She wanted to amend the 3 paragraphs. 27, 28 and 29.
No. So the next amendment will be number 30. So I call Mr. Kafkalias of Cyprus to propose amendment number 30. Please, sir, you have the floor. Microphone, please. It doesn't work? Anyone can help us to handle this issue? No one? Okay, please. On this road? Siz zahmet olmasa biraz cadon köməkli edin. Problem var. Bu sırada işlemir mikrofonlar.
So this is my last amendment. In connection with our previous amendment, we wish to stress that growing transnational trends make it imperative for participating states to observe their international commitments in this field and pursue discussions in order to further strengthen the OSCE's norms and activities relating to the SOL and the SCA. It is also important to stress Parliament's significant potential in promoting synergy at all levels towards enhanced measures that will limit the illegal trade and ensure the effective security and management of SOL. The commendable work of the Parliamentary Forum on SOL over the years, more recently in Western Balkans Parliamentary Forum on SOL, hosted by Serbia last April, constitutes a very good example of how best to promote parliamentary cooperation in this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, first of all, for resolving this technical problem using another microphone. So, does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 30? Please. No one wishing to speak against. So, Madam Pia Kauma, you have the floor of that. What's your opinion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you. Now I shall put amendment number 30 to the vote. Will all those in favor of amendment number 30 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment number 30 please raise your voting cards? No one against. Any abstentions? One abstention. So amendment number 30 is now adopted. Thank you. Amendment number 31. I call Mr. Zarubinsky of Ukraine to propose his amendment. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, dear colleagues. By this amendment, it is proposed to add a separate paragraph after paragraph 18 in the following terms: reconfirm that addressing protracted conflicts in the sea area and seeking to achieve progress toward their resolution in a peaceful and negotiated manner within agreed frameworks while fully respecting the United Nations Charter, the Helsinki Final Act and international law is a priority for the organization. Because in this paragraph, dear colleagues, it is highly emphasized the firmness of adherence to the norms of international law. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment, number 31? No one against want to speak. Now I ask the opinion of Madame Pia Kauma of that amendment. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you very much. Now I shall put amendment 31 to the vote. Will all those in favor of amendment 31 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment please raise your voting cards? No one. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Amendment number 31 is now adopted. Amendment 32, I call Mr. Gegamyan of Armenia to propose amendment 32. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Поправка преследует одну единственную цель, чтобы не общим котелом все смешивать, а каждой конкретной ситуации применить все те положения, которые изложены в данном пункте. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against amendment 32? No one. What's your opinion of our rapporteur, please?
Dear Mr. Chair, I accept it.
Thank you very much. Now I shall put amendment 32 to the vote. Will all those in favor of amendment 32 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this amendment 32 please raise your voting cards? 3 against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. So amendment 32 is adopted. Amendment 33. I call Mr. Maltese of Canada to propose amendment 33. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Rapidement, cet amendement a pour objectif d'assurer la sécurité globale dans la région de l'OSCE, exige la participation entière et égale des femmes et des hommes à la vie, politique et publique. Le présent amendement vise à souligner la contribution que nous pouvons apporter à titre de parlementaire pour atteindre cet objectif et je vous invite à voter pour.
Thank you. Now, I call anyone wishing to speak against this amendment, please. No one wants to speak. Please, Kauma, what's your opinion of that?
Thank you, Chair. I accept it.
Thank you very much. Now, I shall put Amendment 33 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 33, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. Will all those against this amendment, please raise your voting cards. One against. Thank you. Any abstentions? No abstention. Amendment 33 is adopted. Amendment 34. I call Mr. Slutsky of Russia to propose his Amendment 34. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель. В пункте 21 мы предлагаем после слова «сценарием» добавить формулировку долговременного урегулирования конфликтов и дело в том, что мы должны здесь исходить именно из сценариев долговременного урегулирования конфликтов и постконфликтного восстановления, что является традицией нашей Ассамблеи. Спасибо.
I thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment number 34? No one? So, Madam Pierre Kauma, what's your opinion of that?
Dear Mr. Chair, I accept it.
Thank you. I shall now put Amendment 34 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 34 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone against? No one is against. Thank you. What about abstentions? Any abstentions? Two abstentions. So Amendment 34 is adopted. Amendment 35. I call Mr. Doridze of Georgia to propose his Amendment 35. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's a very sad reality what's going on the territory of my country, and I'm not proposing anything revolutionary. I think we are asking for respect of fundamental principles of international law, the occupy of the territory of Georgia, and one of the main and most important tools in this respect is the fulfillment of the commitments, which has been signed in 12th of August of 2008. So I appreciate your support of this amendment as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this Amendment 35? Russian Federation, please, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Меня зовут Василий Лихачев. Я бывший посол Российской Федерации при Европейском Союзе, доктор международного права. Говорю об этом только с одной целью, чтобы было принято правильно то, что я скажу. Мы выступаем против этой поправки только по одной причине. В этом регионе Российская Федерация действовала и действует как постоянный член Совета Безопасности, который уважает основные принципы международного права, в том числе право народов на самоопределение. Если сравнить действия России и, скажем, пункт 1 пактов о правах человека, принятые Генеральной Ассамблеей ООН в 1966 году, соответствующие пункты Всеобщей декларации прав человека 1948 года, то никакого противоречия в поведении Российской Федерации и ее дипломатии нет. Кроме того, в этом регионе Россия оказывала и будет оказывать всемирную политическую, гуманитарную и торгово-экономическую помощь. Спасибо.
Thank you. Now I ask the opinion of Madam Kauma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you very much. Now I shall put Amendment 35 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 35 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Anyone wishes to vote against this amendment, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. Any abstentions? 7 abstentions. So amendment is adopted. Amendment 36. I call Mr. Zarubinsky of Ukraine to propose Amendment 36. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, dear colleagues. The crisis in Ukraine is connected not only with Ukraine. It is proposed to change the wording Ukrainian crisis into more specific, the crisis in and around Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment, number 36? No one. I ask opinion of Madam Pierre Kauma of that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept it.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. So now I shall put Amendment 36 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 36 please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will all those against this Amendment 36 please raise your voting cards? 1, 2 are against. Thank you. Any abstentions? 2, 3 abstentions. Thank you. Amendment 36 is adopted. We have now another oral amendment proposed by our rapporteur, Madam Pierre Kauma. Please, Madam Kauma, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are a few changes I would like to make or propose in the amendment number 37. And the first one is that I would like to change the name of the contact group to liaison group, because there already is one contact group in place in Ukraine. And also I would like to change the ending of this phrase. Instead of saying that to put an end to civil strife and lead the country out of the political crisis, I would say in order to de-escalate the situation on the ground and to support the country out of the crisis. So that is liaison group instead of contact group, and then in order to de-escalate the situation on the ground and to support the country out of the crisis instead of leading it from there.
Thank you, Madam Kauma. Now I ask, is there any objections to considering the oral amendment? Any objections? No. Now I shall put to the vote of this oral amendment. Will those in favor of this oral amendment please raise your voting cards? Thank you. Will those against this oral amendment please raise your voting cards? No one is against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. So the oral amendment is adopted. Now I call Mr. Pushkov of Russia to propose Amendment 37. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We think that it is extremely important, and also raising the role of the OSCE to have an international parliamentary liaison group or contact group to discuss Ukraine. We see that the leaders of different states discuss this issue. We see that the heads of the foreign offices discuss this issue, but we don't see a constant interparliamentary dialogue around this issue. And I think that the OSCE can fulfill the void which has created in this area, so that parliamentarians consider and discuss this issue and look for possibilities to find a way out of this crisis. So we are very much in support of creation of this internationally parliamentary liaison group, and we hope that all who are interested will take part in it. Thank you.
Okay, Slovenia, Mr. Batteri, you have the point of order? Yes, please.
Caro Presidente, io ho l'impressione che abbiamo già votato questa cosa, no? Abbiamo già votato l'emendamento orale, è assolto.
Thank you. We will just put to the vote as amended one. Is it correct? So, is there anyone wishing to speak against this amendment? Please. Yes, please, from Ukraine.
Thank you. Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги, я и по ведению, и по, как говорится, здоровому смыслу. Только что уважаемый докладчик предложил вариант, который всех устроил. Никто не выступил против этого варианта. Он действительно взвешенный и такой, который, я думаю, все-таки устраивает всех, в том числе и украинскую, и российскую делегацию. Я думаю, что эту поправку в устной форме, которая была высказана, может поддержать практически подавляющее большинство присутствующих. Поэтому выступаю еще раз за вариант докладчика. Спасибо.
Yes, I want to make it clear once again that we have voted to the oral amendment of Madam Pierre Kama. Now I will put to the vote this amendment number 3 as amended. So I think it is clear. So, Netherlands, the point of order?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, please.
We have voted on the text as amended by the rapporteur, Mrs. Kauma. So we already have made this vote. So why vote again on the same text? I don't understand.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. To the point. Mr. Chair, to the point.
Yes. Oui. Non, Monsieur le Président, je suis aussi d'accord avec mon collègue qui vient de dire que cet amendement vient de tomber puisqu'on a voté déjà sur l'amendement de Madame Pia Koma qui remplace le texte intégral. C'est un texte modifié, c'est vrai, mais elle a cité donc le texte intégral et je crois qu'il n'est plus nécessaire de voter encore une fois sur un autre texte puisqu'on a déjà adopté le texte de Madame Koma.
Mr. President.
So,
Mr. President, point of order.
Yes,
can I perhaps ask colleagues to remember when we voted on Mrs. Karma's proposal, it was a vote on the amendment that she sought to make to the text of Amendment 37. We agreed that amendment. Therefore, 37 is now being put to the vote as amended. That is why there are two votes. It is quite different from the procedure at the last situation where there was an agreement to put together three resolutions. This is we voted on to agree an amendment to the text. We're now voting on the amended text.
Right. Yes, yes. Thank you for your clarification. Once again, we have just had a very short consultation, and I was told by my advisor that it was really true when we voted for the amendment made by Pia Kama. So it means that this amendment is adopted. In that case, the amendment 37 falls.
It's exactly what he explained.
Sorry for that. So we have some confusion. So we are trying to resolve this issue. So let me just please calm down. Yeah, I will give the floor, please. Now we have consulted. The solution is that I will put this amendment 37 as amended. Is it correct?
Yes.
I did it before. I did it clear before.
So that's what you need.
Please help me to carry out my duty. Thank you for your understanding. Now, yes, please, you have the floor.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, je crois qu'après la confusion qui vient de présider à nos débats, pour que tout le monde sache bien sur quoi il vote, je souhaiterais que Mme Piacoma nous relise l'amendement tel qu'il a été amendé et qu'on ait la totalité du texte qui est soumis à notre vote. Je crois que ça serait simple, clair et précis.
Yeah, I think it would be better once again to repeat this oral amendment. I think it is a good idea. Please, Madam Piacoma, can you repeat it, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will repeat it. Now listen carefully. Calls for the creation on the platform of the OSCE EPA of an interparliamentary liaison group on Ukraine in order to de-escalate the situation on the ground and to support the country out of the crisis.
Is that clear? Thank you very much. Now I put to the vote to that amendment
Not the amendment.
as amended. Please, will all those in favor of amendment 37 as amended, please raise your voting cards.
It's clear.
Thank you. Will all those against this amendment please raise your voting cards? No one. Any abstentions?
No.
Thank you. The amendment is adopted. Thank you very much.
We break. We meet at 4:30 again.
It was really very hard task to deal with. I'm very grateful for your close cooperation. Now it is a time to go to announce the break. We will come back at
4:30.
4:30 in this room. Thank you very much.